Hey everybody, welcome to Tea and Chocolate. I am super excited for today's guest, and her name is Charleyne Oulton. And I came across Charleyne in this book, hi Charleyne, called She's No Longer Silent. And this book is currently a best-selling author on Amazon, and I picked this up in Vancouver anyway. Now, Charleyne is one of the contributors to this book, and it's a variety of stories from women they've come through a trauma around mental health, let's just say that. So there's a variety of stories, and they're very, very thought-provoking, and I thought Charlene's I love the way you wrote the story. Yeah, it was very, very creative. And Charleyne wears many, many hats, and we'll give you at the end of the session today, we'll give you her contact details just in case you know someone who can receive her services, because you'll learn all about her today. So Charleyne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so glad to have been part of this project. This is my soul baby, so to speak. There's two of us lead authors who came up with this project, and a whole whack of beautiful and powerful women who contributed. I'm just so excited to talk about it.
Good. So why don't you start sharing your story, and we can kind of go along and dig a little bit deeper, and I don't know, go from
okay.
there. I know it's a big ask.
It is a big ask, and
yeah.
And I'm brave enough to talk about it. For those who are joining, this might be a bit triggering. Just forewarning you, I definitely talk about childhood rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual grooming, and the unfortunate events that happened to me when I was a child younger than the age of 10. So I'm not even sure entirely where to start, but I'll just pour my heart into this. Interrupt anytime, Lauren.
Yeah.
But basically, my mom met a man, and he was a sexual predator. And back in the day, there wasn't Google, there wasn't Facebook. It was much harder to meet someone, let alone creep someone. I absolutely do not blame my mom for what happened to me. I blame the man who attacked me, just to throw that out there.
Yeah.
But we'll fast forward a bit. The relationship, I think, lasted 9 months before he first started to cross the lines and make me feel uncomfortable. He wouldn't knock in and open the bathroom door. He came in to say goodnight to me, but would climb in bed with me. As an adult, I know that he had an erection when he would climb in bed with me, but as a child, I was naive and I was young and I had no idea what was happening. Mm-hmm. If you fast forward a little bit of time, we had got to spring break. Both my parents, who were divorced at the time, gave permission for me to go on this really exciting trip. He was a semi-truck driver, and we were going to go to Vancouver. So for me, this was really exciting. I was going to go on the ferry. I was going to go in a big truck. We were going to go, I think, to Chuck E. Cheese's, and then we were going to come home. But I write about in my book and in my chapter how sour that trip turned out. It wasn't long before he would climb in the bed with me in the back of the cab and take off his clothes and encourage me to take off my clothes. It wasn't long before he assaulted me. He actually ended up kidnapping me, which as an adult, I find horrifying. Of course, I've got children, and I can't imagine them going through what I went through. But thankfully, I was young. I was really young and didn't really understand. He was supposed to take me to Vancouver, and for those who understand, that's very close to the United States, to Washington and Seattle. And instead of turning to Vancouver, he actually turned towards the USA. He had me hide while we went through the border. He didn't declare or have my parents' permission. Nobody knew what was happening. Thankfully, I ran away from him when he went to the bathroom at a truck stop and begged the cashier at a gas station to use the phone, and I ended up calling my mom. And of course, I did not tell her what happened. I didn't talk about any of the assaults or the molestation or anything. I just cried.
Can I ask you about something here? What startled me was that, thank God, that the person at the gas station said yes. Do you actually recall asking, like, you know, because this is a very strong, I thought to myself, wow, like, I hope people are that responsible to allow a person today to use their phone in an emergency. Like he or she, I don't know, he or she help save your life.
It was a female. She was about 20 years old. I can sometimes recognize features in other people walking down the street. I wish to God I knew her name and could find that gas station, and
wow,
the gratitude I have for that ability to use the phone and reach out and call for help is 100% owed to this person who I remember everything about leading up to the phone call, but because of my childhood PTSD, I don't remember the specifics of the phone call, but I remember I was holding a big bag. I was a little girl, so like a gigantic bag of sour cream and onion chips. And I was standing in line, and he had given me $5, which was so much money. And you know, he had went to the washroom, and I only had a small window. And then I finally got up, and she asked for the chips and said, "Is that anything else?" And I said, I know for a fact, I said, "This is an emergency. I need to call my mom. I'm in a lot of trouble." And I don't remember what I said on the phone, but my mom and her maternal instincts understood that something was very wrong.
Can you, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question to ask, like what as a 9-year-old, when you're being violated in that moment, what's happening to you? Do you have like a cognitive understanding of what's happening? Like, what do you recall that today? I just find that I can't wrap my head around that, you know?
How did I cope, or
Yeah.
what exactly happened?
Yeah, like in those moments, like for you, I don't need for you to get into the details of what happened.
For sure.
Yeah.
I froze.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
100% froze. And I remember smells, and I remember rustling sounds, and I remember his touch. Choose a body part. His touch was electric and fearful is the wrong word. Fiery. I remember pain, but I don't remember details of the pain. In the moment, it's like I left my body or had an out-of-body experience, because I was frozen. I didn't run. I didn't say no. And it took me a lot of counseling to get to understand that I didn't even know what sex was. I was so young. As an adult, I've turned my pain into power, but as a child, I didn't understand what was happening. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what an erection was. I've raised my children the best I can to be completely aware of consent and sex and the ability to speak up, but I was not raised that way. It's not what we used to talk about. It's not how we raise children. I remember hearing my heartbeat in my ears, but nothing else in my room or in the in the truck. So frozen, so scared. I knew I wanted my parents. I knew what was happening wasn't right because it didn't feel right in my soul. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to delve into, there's so many layers to this. As you have healed, I guess, throughout your life, and taken the steps to heal, and I know that you're in the book, you say, are you completely healed? And you said no. So it's definitely a process. I'm just curious about like how your life, what your life looked like the years that followed into adulthood. Do you know what I mean? What were your other experiences?
Oh, um,
Oh dear.
no, it's an excellent question.
Okay.
I believed in my soul that I looked and carried and walked around with this visible shield of or cape demonstrating that I had been raped. I I became shy, and I became, to this day, I don't sleep good. I became scared of sleep, scared at nighttime, scared to not be with my mom. Like I clung to my blankie and my Ted and anything that brought me peace and joy. I didn't come home after my traumas and tell my mom what happened or my dad what happened. In fact, for a very long time, I probably about 9 months, I didn't tell anybody. That relationship ended with him. My mom didn't understand the details of why, but, I forbid her to see him, and I became vicious towards him. And she knew she knew that there had to have been something that went on, but she could have never imagined. And she never asked me. And, unfortunately, I was broken. I was robbed of my childhood. I don't remember going back to school. I don't remember anything right after my trauma and right after being returned to my mom. But I know that there's patterns of, I know that that's where I developed patterns, because I was not in counseling at the time until it came out, my story. I was just self-soothing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I can let you know, Lauren, that once I told one of my friends, she told her mom told my mom called the police. Instantly, I had a support network, but it took me a long time to raise my hand and bring up what happened.
Yeah, I found that interesting in the story that you told your friend first.
Mm-hmm. Through Barbies.
Really?
Yep, we were playing. I remember that day.
Yeah.
Like everything, we were playing Barbies at the back of her house, kind of in this nook near her dining room, and then I just started talking, asking, has this ever happened to you? Like, showing her with her Barbies some of the things I had learned and experienced. And clearly I made her feel uncomfortable because she talked to her mom, and hallelujah for that, because
Yeah.
I
I
didn't even know something bad had happened. I just knew in my soul that it was trouble, right?
Right. Yeah. Because you're so young. I mean, this is what's so crazy about
Scary.
that. Yeah, it really is. You note here that as you were going through, I know you reported it and such. Your mother was a big advocate for that, and you've written here that the courts failed you. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. As an adult, I need to just clarify that I understand now that the lawyers, the courts, the press, everyone, the police, they were probably doing their best. Okay. I have absolutely no anger, not even to the man who attacked me.
Not
I
even
100%, no, I understand that he had a sickness. I believe pedophilia is a sickness. I believe it's not a conscious choice anyone would choose.
Mm-hmm.
I know as an adult now that he had a long past of offending.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wrote about
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, he had been convicted before my trauma and our situation. He had been convicted before, but it was in the US. And that's the beginning of how I feel I got failed. He was not labeled as a sexual predator. Nobody warned my mom. This wasn't public. Nobody went on the news saying, hey, this man lives in your city. And when my mom became aware of the situation, of course, I started talking to the police, and I started talking to counselors and victim services and my parents, right? I was able to talk to my brothers. I talked and I wrote and I did art therapy. And I realized really quickly how much of a mess the situation was. My mom went to the news and our case exploded. Fortunately, because I was brave enough to tell my friend, and I was brave enough to call my mom, and she was brave enough to go to the police, and she was brave enough to go to the news, a whole bunch of people came forward who had also been traumatized by this man. These guys who came forward, guys were women and men. Sorry, I shouldn't say guys. They were adults, and you know, they heard about this story and this man and recognized him and recognized his name. And, you know, there's this whole history of abuse that we were naive to. So our case exploded. My name and like my physical self was protected from all of that because I was a child. So grateful for that, right? But also I should have been able to, although at the time, maybe I wouldn't have been able to advocate and speak up. I wish somebody would have sat down and like talked to me. You know, there's TV shows about this man and his lifetime of trauma. All right. And there's news stories and there's newspaper articles. And up until this book right here, I had not even written about it. I was not as public as I am now because I was never really given that opportunity, even in actual court. And our case went to trial, and I was not the only victim testifying. But here I am, a teeny tiny little person, just a micro human. And they treated me like an adult, and they asked me questions that I could not understand. And they point blank had me describe things that I could not describe. And
wow.
I feel tricked to this day. I feel tricked by their questions and by the conversation because it was not child appropriate. And and I can go on and on and on, but trial was ugly. And in my opinion, and for my healing, it was not a healing journey. It's part of the hardness of this story.
Yeah. Could they change things at that level, at the judicial level, in terms of how they approach a child when it comes to sexual assault? Like, what did your counselor say about that? Like, in hindsight, looking back, right? If they're treating you like this adult and you're expected to respond to these questions.
I know I can't answer how anybody else reacted or felt this went, but I can tell you that specifically they tricked me about describing the border. And that's
why?
Go ask a child to describe a border. Walk me through what happened. I can tell them what happened. I was told to hide in the back of the semi-truck. I was told to lay down and be a good little girl and, you know, be as quiet as a mouse. I had no idea what a border was. I had no idea what a border crossing was. So, you know, they come at you like, at what time did you cross the border? What the fuck's a border? Sorry. But like, I'm a little kid who didn't even pay attention in social studies. And, you know, they said to describe it. And I'm like, well, there's grass and trees and snow.
I see.
Like,
right.
Describe it.
Yeah.
It's like they wanted me to describe as an adult exactly what had happened, but I was a child whose heart was beating too fast, who really just wanted my mom and my blankie and didn't understand why I was being shamed. It felt like I had done something wrong rather
Right.
than here's
Right.
a room full of people ready to help me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody made me feel like I had support in that room. For instance, he was in the room. Nobody told me,
Wow.
you're going to go testify. You're going to sit beside this judge. I thought I was going to have a conversation of some sorts, but there's press and there's people and there's lawyers and there's him, right? Like I'm 35 this year, and I don't think I could be in the same room as him, let alone a teeny tiny person describing hell to him without the language to understand, or the knowledge to understand why we were even having this conversation. Yeah, I truly feel the courts failed me, 100%. I have respect that I feel that they probably thought they were doing their best, but I did not walk away feeling like my story had been shared, my heart had been heard.
Does that say a lot about how there's all these arguments out there about how women are treated as a whole? Like, so there's a second part to that question, in that I've always wanted to know, like, here we are, we create apparently these men or little boys and how they become violent, and then we're raised to be afraid of men as women, right? I'm not allowed to go walking in a dark alley or whatever it is so that I'm not being attacked by a male. So I'm wondering where we're going wrong with the parenting, like right at the root level of things. Do you know what I mean? Have you thought about that at all? Because I mean, I know that the young boys, you also stated here that young boys are also violated. Yeah, I sit with that question all the time. What are your thoughts?
I hate to speak generally, but I can tell you, Lauren, that
Sure.
I have raised my children with sexual language and talking about consent and trying to teach them to listen to their intuition and their soul and their gut instinct. And I have never said, oh, there's grandpa, go give him a hug. No, there's grandpa, do you want to give him a hug? There's uncle so-and-so, go sit on his lap. No, I have never forced any relationship, man, woman, sibling. I try very hard to parent in a way where my children are consciously making choices, and I'm respecting their
Wow.
intuition and their choices. And I can't say that will work for everyone in society, but because of my trauma and because I was so naive, even as toddlers, I was teaching my children, okay, you need to go poop. Do you want mommy to come with you? Do you want the door shut? Do you want me to hold your hand? Okay, you're going to have a shower. Do you want me to leave?
But that right there is so brilliant, regardless if you, it's your approach to parenting, right? You're respecting them as adults or at whatever age, whatever stage. Yeah, sure. But you're asking them, we're often told,
100%. It's go sit on Santa's lap. Santa is a stranger. Okay. I know what happens. I love Santa, but I know what can happen when you are with someone who your body says this is not a good person to be around, and you're forced to be around that person. Under no situation did my parents force me to go, but I was alone. I was alone with him. My only choice was to be good and try not to fight and shut up. Right? Up until the point that I begged to call my mom, I was stuck with a man who was assaulting me.
Right. In the book here, you've got a diagnosis that you say is it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder, correct?
Yes.
And I love the way you put this. So that particular term, C-PTSD, doesn't merely change a person, it creates them and sometimes defines their entire life.
Amen.
Mm.
I suffer anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and I have learned how to cope, and I am able to live a happy, healthy life. But under no circumstance is my childhood trauma and pain gone. It is 100% part of the molecules in my body.
Mm.
It is part of my history. It is part of my every trait. It is part of my gut instinct. It has helped create who I am. I've gone through a life of trying to heal from what happened to me, and currently I am completely under control in my triggers, and I'm able to talk about it without crying. Actually, I feel elated talking about it because I feel nobody talks about it. I am not what happened to me. I am who I am right now because of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that women, people, humans get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
I went through something bad. That doesn't mean I'm bad. Something traumatic happened. I don't have to live a trauma-filled life.
Yes.
I was sexually assaulted. I don't have to have that title define who I am.
Right, right. Yes, we often get, I guess, labels and put upon us depending upon our journey, this, and that. So is it, from your perspective today, is the world a safe place?
Yes. I 100% feel we as a society are doing everything in our power to raise our children and our families and ourselves
Mm-hmm.
with healthy habits. We are educated. We have the internet. We live in Canada. We have unlimited resources. We have Facebook groups and newspaper articles, and we can Google anything and find any resource we need. There's counselors now whose profession is based on helping children through trauma, right? Cycled around trauma. I feel a lot of the resources and things we have to keep us safe and educated nowadays is very different than it was when I was a child. I mean, it's only been 20 years, but the world my daughter's growing up in is vastly different than the one I grew up in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's pros and cons to each.
100%.
Yeah.
The internet is also scary,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
So is life. But I do feel like my children are safe outside. My children have also been raised in a way where they're able to communicate a lot better than I knew how to.
Mm-hmm. What have you taught your children about the power of using your voice, of being truthful and being transparent?
I've tried to teach them everything. In my day-to-day life, I am a trauma recovery advocate. That is 3 powerful words put together. That means that I am a shoulder for everyone. No matter what you might experience, Lauren, that upsets you, I'm here for you. I don't have all the answers, but I will dig, I will call around for you. I'm trying to teach my children through my books, through my writing, through my blogging, through my public speaking, through my day-to-day life, that they matter and they're worthy and that they deserve a life filled with joy. My trauma caused me to create some patterns in my life that that ultimately hurt me. So I'm trying to teach my children that sometimes you go through something yucky or you go through a hard time, but it is okay to step back and focus on yourself rather than jump into a relationship or jump in and make a rash decision or act without thinking. I'm trying to think or trying to teach them to journal and talk and sing and yell and cry and verbalize, whether that's internally just with themselves or with their dog or on paper or through art therapy or with me or with a friend or with a counselor or with a pastor or with someone at their school, but find someone in the world or something in the world to help you work through your thoughts and figure out what you want to say and how to get through the hiccups of life. Life is not easy, but life does not have to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, you could have walked away, I guess, and took many paths, right? I really commend your courage, really. I mean, it takes a lot to go from a place of like feeling all those emotions and anger, the dirtiness, and all those things that come up with rape, and to evolve and grow.
Recovering from sexual assault takes time, but it's not impossible. My children watched me be married to a narcissist, and my children watched me divorce that personality type, and they've watched me grow as a woman. They watched me be a stay-at-home mom and now a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. I'm trying really hard to demonstrate that no matter what life throws at you, you can overcome.
Yeah, by the way, what was appealing to join the armed forces?
Kind of a loaded question. I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Then I went through a really toxic divorce and ultimately found myself on a completely new life path. I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost my husband, I was completely lost. I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet. I wanted job security and pension and benefits, and I wanted to be able to provide for myself fully and not depend on someone else. So those aspects were really appealing. I'm also engaged to someone who's been in the forces for over 20 years, and although his stories are crazy and still sometimes I don't understand why he chooses to stay, right? It's a very hard job with a lot of change and a lot of chaos. He's happy, right? Also, my grandpa was in the Navy, and when he died, I got a bunch of his journals from when he was sailing and when he was away and when he was missing home. And the combination just kind of came at me. Then I saw a recruiting poster on a bus and I was like, fine. Are you kidding me? Why not? Let's do it. Right? My grandpa can do it and my now fiance can do it. It checked all the boxes, and hands down was the best decision of my life. I have never grown so much. Every single day I learn. Every day I push myself further than I even thought possible.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's incredible. At the end of your writings, you offer 5 things you do every day to help you heal, and I just loved what you've written here.
Yes.
I won't get into the detail. You can if you
Sure.
want to talk about it, but walk outside, practice gratitude journaling, commit a random act of kindness daily, meditate and pray. With all your soul, let go and attempt to forgive.
These are literally, this is my best advice. No matter what you go through in life.
Absolutely.
If you do these things, one of these things, 2 of these things, all 5 of these things, you will survive. That's a big, powerful statement. But if all you do when you go through something ugly is journal, if that's the only thing you do for yourself, you will, with time, notice a change in your thought process, and you will realize your abundance in life, and you will process what happened and what you want to happen. It'll help you stay on track. If all you do after trauma is forgive, just practice learning to forgive, practice forgiving, practice being kind, practice breathing. If that's all you do, it will help. 100% no matter how much training I've done, how many books I've read, how many people I've helped, it comes down to yourself. There is no magic fix outside of yourself. You have to believe, and you have to want it, and you have to put yourself first in your healing. And these steps in this book are what I do right now every single day that help me through all of life's chaos, because life can be crazy. Mm-hmm. But if you change your mentality, life is also beautiful.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. That's why it's, you didn't fall into the pattern of like, being an addict, not to disrespect those who choose that path, or do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to,
and I do actually struggle. There was a time in life, I don't write about this in this book, but, I have 3 children who were born very premature and very sick, and they were born within 30 months of each other. And the 2 or 3 years after that, I was in a pattern. Addiction's the wrong word, but I was in a pattern of eating unhealthy, not getting enough sleep, not focusing on myself, not existing, not putting on my own oxygen mask. Call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I was addicted to not taking care of myself because I had 3 children. I had 3 sick children. I had 3 children in 3 different places, and in this hospital wing and in this one, and this one's at home, and I lost who I was. Well, the rules and advice I lay out in my story is what got me through that trauma. Trauma doesn't have to be rape. Trauma, there is no one definition for what trauma is. Mm-hmm. Our book does not tell you one definition of how you will overcome your trauma, but we have come together to try very hard to help an audience, to help women, to help a reader understand and relate and realize that they're not alone. They're not the only ones who have gone through.
Oop, your video's gone. There you go.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, to cycle back, I tried really hard, and all the women in our book have tried really hard just to make sure that women feel supported. Women around the world, women going through anything ugly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your support.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're very inspiring. And like you said, those 5, key things that you do to help you on your path, those are things that I also value. So,
oh, good.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. That's why I was like, oh, fantastic. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I personally enjoy doing as well. And they're great reminders, right? Because we forget. I just want to also just mention that the audience can reach you at coachcharleybrown.com. You've got a website. Charleyne is on Instagram and Facebook. And yes, as you said, on your website. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And
continued blessings to you.
I am so, so grateful to get to know you and have this conversation. And I feel honored to be able to share my story. I know I'm not the only person in the world who's been sexually assaulted, and I'm just one person among millions, but I'm one person here saying, if you need someone, I'm here for you. If you don't have anyone to talk to and you don't want to talk to me, I can help you find someone to talk to. And if you just want a friend, I am here. If you need a shoulder, I am here. I'm strong. I can lift, I can carry your weight and your troubles. Reach out to you, Lauren, anytime. People just need to understand they're not alone.
Thank you. And thank you for that offering.
You're welcome. Takes a village, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, take good care of yourself. And thanks everybody for joining today. And I hope you found great value in today's discussion. So, if there is something that you are going through, please use your voice. particularly today, because we need the transparency as a society, and we need to move forward so that both young boys and young girls can, and anywhere in between, I've got to say that today, respectfully be at peace with themselves. And if they see anything wrong or whatever, just speak up. All right, everybody, take good care of yourselves, and lots of love. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.